Hello everyone, my name is Alex from Ernest Alex Reads, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in January. I ended up reading 18 books in the month of January, so that was a lot of books, and I'm really happy that I managed to read that much. It was overall a very good reading month for me. I read some really nice books, I read some average books, and I read a couple, unfortunately, books that were not really for me, but all in all it was a really good reading month. The first book that I completed in the month of January was an audiobook, and that was The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. It took me a while to get into this book, but when I did I was very intrigued with the plot. This book follows a time-traveling magician who has to go back in time in order to save natural magic and all of the heartbreak and shenanigans that happen in the past. I ended up giving The Last Magician 4 stars. The next book that I completed was The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bithell. I really enjoyed this. This is a diary of a bookseller, as the title suggests, and it chronicles what it means to be a secondhand bookseller, I believe in 2014. It had a lot of interesting things about Amazon as well, and book selling, and I thought it was a really great read, and I'm also glad that I picked this up. I also gave The Diary of a Bookseller 4 stars. I then completed the short story collection Fen by Daisy Johnson. I really enjoyed her novel that came out last year, Everything Under, and because of that I decided to pick up her short story collection, and it's all that I could have hoped for. I gave this short story collection 3 stars just because I really enjoyed some of the stories and didn't enjoy other ones so much, so it kind of averaged out into 3 stars. I then completed another audiobook. I listened to A Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. I really enjoyed this book as well. For somebody who reads a lot of fantasy, it definitely is set up as a very traditional fantasy story. The princess leaves her land to be married to a prince, but despite all that, or maybe because of it, I really enjoyed it, and it's really amazing because it's a female-female romance, and I ended up super enjoying this book. I thought it was great to see female-female romance in a super traditional fantasy setting. I loved how it kind of talked about and explored different types of femininity and what it means to be a strong woman, or just a woman in general. This book makes me really happy, and I am also going to continue in this series when the second book comes out. I then picked up and read Shantae by Gita Teresa. This book is a historical fantasy that follows the protagonist Camille as she tries to save her family from poverty and kind of swindle money out of the royals at Versailles right before the French Revolution. I gave this book 3 stars because I had a couple issues with the pacing. Also, I wasn't very interested in the plot until the halfway mark, so 3 stars. I also completed Wild Like Me by Louise Pentland in the month of January. I gave this book 2 stars. It was a pretty simple read, and the whole plot was a single mom looking for a significant other, because that's how she's going to cure her what she calls the emptiness, but is actually basically depression. I don't agree with that statement. I was not into reading about that. Wasn't super into it. I, however, had already bought the sequel, and so I decided to read that as well. I read Wild About the Girl by Louise Pentland, and was kind of surprised because I enjoyed this book a bit more than Wild Like Me. It does talk about how the main character Robin tried to solve all of her problems with a man and then realized she couldn't do that. It also had a lot more like women supporting women. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I also listened to and completed Circe by Madeline Miller on audiobook. I was blown away by this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's the retelling of the Circe myth, the life of Circe, and I just was blown away and got really caught up in the whole story, the way the story was told. I just love this story. I love this book. I had an inkling that I would really enjoy it, and I was blown away. Oh man, just love it. I also listened and completed City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I decided last month that I was going to start to try out Cassandra Clare's backlog of books because there's about 1 million. And when I was a teenager, when they were coming out, I always was thinking about picking it up but never did. The first book, and I don't even know what, I started at the very beginning, City of Bones, and now I'm at City of Ashes. I don't know what trilogy that is. I didn't really read that much into it. I was not a super huge fan of the first book. Decided to continue on because I needed a commute audiobook, so I listened to City of Ashes. I know that it's a very loved, Cassandra Clare's novels are very loved, or either very much not loved in the bookish community. I am on the fence. Yeah. I ended up giving City of Ashes 3 stars. I then picked up and completed Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers. This is the 3rd book in her Wayfarers series. I don't know if it's a trilogy or not. I would read many more books set in this universe. I gave this book 5 stars. Compared to the other books in the series, this focuses way more on the human experience. This book follows and explores what's happened to the Exodus fleet. That was the last humans that left Earth, fled Earth, and it's actually really just a very powerful and emotional and introspective look on what it means to be human and what it means to stay, to belong, to go out and explore. And I cried at the end of this book. The themes really hit me right here in all of my emotions, because it talks a lot about, you know, people searching to be connected to their past. It has other characters wanting to go out and explore the universe and new cultures, and then deciding to come back home to what they know, to be part of a community. Talks about recording the history and how important that is, how important it is to be in balance with your environment, and I'm getting emotional talking about it now. All that to say, I highly recommend this book. Absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Next book I completed in January, it was Final Draft by Riley Redgate. This was another audiobook from me. I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed the slow burn romance. I thought the representation in this book was really great. It follows a senior in high school who is really into writing science fiction, and it explores her kind of going out of her shell and experiencing things and how that affects her writing, and her last year in high school. I then read and completed Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Oh my god, guys, this is so cute. 5 out of 5 stars. I love it. I love the characters. I'm so happy that I have it. I'm so happy that it's coming out in February and that we're getting more volumes. I then, off of Heartstopper, went completely to the other spectrum of reading and picked up and completed Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This follows an assassin as she trains to become an assassin, basically. I knew going into this that it was very dark and there was a lot of blood and a lot of killing, and I thought I was prepared, but I was really not prepared. And for somebody who fainted in biology class, yeah. It was a difficult read, but I did end up really enjoying it and giving it 4 stars. I then picked up and completed The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. This follows Nicole, and she goes to a baseball game and gets proposed to and says no. And it follows her and the man that gets her out of this sticky situation with the proposal, and their budding romance. And I thought it was very cute, great read, and I really liked to see that there was a lot of great representation in this book as well. So I ended up giving that 4 stars. I then picked up The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was highly anticipating this novel and know that there's a lot of hype around this novel, and I was a bit hesitant to pick it up, but I finally did in January, and I read it in one day and I really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. It's also not a novel that I thought in terms of like plot points that I would be really interested in, because I don't really read or am interested in like the glamour of old Hollywood and the scandal of all these husbands. But I really enjoyed it. I thought the book was really well set up and the pacing was really good. I then read and completed The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. This is Kate Morton's 6th novel. It's historical fiction, I guess, mostly. Hello. So it's me, Alex, trying to edit my January wrap-up. I read too much. First off, 18 books is crazy. Anyway, I just realized that my camera cut out while I was talking about The Clockmaker's Daughter, and I just realized that now, and I still had some books to talk about, so I'm gonna do it right now, very quick. I was not expecting the kind of plot and what the story was while reading The Clockmaker's Daughter, because I was used to Kate Morton's other books and the way that the other books were written, but I really ended up enjoying all of the different perspectives, all of the different timelines, how they were all connected, and I gave it 4 stars. I also listened to The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb in January, and it was my first ever Robin Hobb novel, and I really enjoyed it, and I gave that 4 stars as well. And then the last book I completed in the month of January was A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. That is the 2nd book in the Darker Shades trilogy. I started that trilogy maybe December or January, I think maybe January 2018, so like a year ago, and then I finally listened to the 2nd installment, and I did like it on the whole, and it took me a long time to get back into the world and into caring about the characters, so on average, but by the end of the novel I was like, yeah, I'm into this, and I want to know what happens. I'm invested. So I ended up giving it 3 stars because of just all of my emotions throughout the book. So, if you have made it this far in the video, Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I hope February is treating you well. Goodbye.